Well, hello again, guys. This is Christian Bassar speaking to you again with another edition of History Vice video blog. So today I want to talk about the fall of the Egyptian Mamluk warrior class, which happened in the early 1500s, 1517 to be exact. And it specifically fell to the Ottoman Turks, the Ottoman Empire, in 1517. And we'll take a look a little bit at the battles and so on, but mainly we'll talk about two main reasons that I believe they fell. One reason was the corruption of the class itself. It had quote-unquote lost its way, if you want to put it that way. And also, the other reason why they fell was the refusal to adopt firearms. So basically, they were behind the times when it came to combat. So, but before we do that, I want to give a little bit of background as to why they started fighting with the Ottomans and also the initial beginnings of the Mamluk class in Egypt itself. So the Mamluks had their origin. The Egyptian Mamluks had their origins during the Ayyubid dynasty, which was established by Salah ad-Din after the Fatimid dynasty of Egypt. So there were the Fatimids, and then there were the Ayyubids. During the Ayyubid time, there were Mamluks, which were slaves with Turkish origins. They were imported into Egypt, and they were adopted into the army. They were given command positions, or they were also given possessions which were called ikta, or tax farms. So this became a very lucrative, profitable practice for the Mamluks. And ikta actually goes back to the Fatimid period. It was during the Fatimid period, before the Ayyubid dynasty, the ikta was being practiced. So over time, the Mamluks gained position and wealth. And eventually, they actually killed the Ayyubid Sultan, and then they took control of Egypt. It happened in the mid-13th century. And over the years, the Mamluks were threatened by crusades, by the Mongol invasions, and they were able to repel those attacks. They were very skilled in horse archery and cavalry combat, so they were able to push the Mongols out. So that was pretty impressive when the rest of Europe and the rest of the Middle Eastern world was having a real hard time with those Mongol invasions. And not only were the Mamluks able to repel these invasions, they were also able to take over Syria and Mesopotamia. And eventually, the Ottoman Empire kind of acted as a defensive buffer, if you will, against the European powers. So the Mamluks were in a fairly good position. They had Syria, they had Mesopotamia, they had Egypt, of course, and then, then they had the Ottoman Turks, which acted as a buffer or a barrier between the Mamluks and the European powers that might threaten them again. So this is all good and fine, but then a local Syrian ruler attacked Ottoman territory. This happened in the late 14th century, souring relations between the two empires, and over time there were two wars. Then the Mamluks actually defeated the Turks in both wars. But in 1513, there was another incident. And so, but this one didn't actually involve the Mamluks at first, not directly. But relations soured in 1513. This was the year that the Ottoman Sultan, Selim Shah ibn Othman, he went to war against Shah Ismail al-Sufi. Shah Ismail al-Sufi, he's described as the leader of the two Iraqs. And there were, Othman had trouble with his Shia Muslim subjects. And they supported al-Sufi. And al-Sufi decided to, champion the Shia cause, and he decided to actually attack the Ottomans. So Othman decided to declare war on al-Sufi, and al-Sufi was soundly beaten. But, so the reason the Mamluks get involved is that in 1516, there was the Mamluk Sultan, his Consul al-Ghuri, and he decided to move an army to Aleppo and observe the war happening between al-Sufi and the Ottomans. And he believed that whoever won that war would eventually threaten Egypt. And so, Othman insisted that his quarrel was only with Ismail, or al-Sufi. In the words of Muhammad Ibn Iyas, nothing could deter Othman from wiping Ismail Shah off from the face of the earth. But he said that he had no intention of fighting the Mamluks. But there were a number of reasons why Othman would want to invade Egypt. So there was a disloyal brother of his living in Egypt. There were also local rulers who could supply the Ottoman army, but they were reliant on the Mamluks. So then this way, if he attacks the Egyptians, he could get access to these supplies. And also, there had been the strained relations. Like, relations with between the Mamluks and the Ottomans had not been all that good. We talked about the two wars before, very briefly, but the relations overall, of course, were not very good. Ibn Iyas said that Othman broke the peace by capturing multiple fortresses, leading to a battle of Merj-Dabak. And so that was the first battle of this war between the Ottomans and the Mamluks. And at Merj-Dabak, the Mamluks were soundly beaten. And actually, the Mamluk Sultan, al-Ghuri, he was actually killed in this battle. So we then we have another new sultan who was chosen, Tuman Bai. And he had ruled effectively as a Dawadar in al-Ghuri's absence, but then he was elected sultan. And then there was another major loss at al-Shariat, and then a final battle in January 1517 at the Battle of Reydaniya. I apologize, I don't speak Arabic, so I apologize if my pronunciation is terrible there. But then the Turks advanced from their victory there, and into Cairo and took control of Egypt.